Hi guys, how are you? So, hello again. It's our second virtual class. So can you just say yes or no whether you can hear me or not? Hi, Carlos said hi. Okay. Aline, yes. Hi, Aline. Carlos, thank you very much, Carlos. I think people are a little bit late today. Thank you, Maria. Hi, yeah. And some people already let me know they can't make it today. So I think it'll be a small class today. All right. Cool. All right. Okay. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about speaking. How many of you attended the last virtual class? Yep. Yeah. I think Aline did, right, Aline? Maria did. Yeah. And Carlos, did you attend the last class? All right. Okay. Cool. No worries. Yeah. So hopefully today you can stay for the whole hour. Okay. Yes. I'm just going to start sharing what I have here with you guys. Okay. All right. So can you see what I have for you? Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Aline. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Cool. So this is virtual class number 2, actually, right? And as you know, this is based on the IELTS Demystified, which is the ebook. Okay. And you know the drill. So it's a presentation. You can see me and listen to me, and you can also write your comments, okay? And you can write any comment. I can see it anytime. So if you have any questions, just let me know, okay? And what we can do in 1 hour, okay? So in 1 hour, last class, we talked about writing, and today we will talk about speaking, okay? In your opinion, which one is harder, speaking or writing, guys? Writing, okay, Alina, writing. Writing. And Carlos, I think he would also say writing. All right, okay, both. All right, cool. All right, so so what I would like from you, I think you kind of know already what I would like from you, right? So participate, ask questions, and of course, enjoy. Okay, so this is your usual speaking test, right? So has anyone taken the IELTS exam before? No. Carlos, when do you think you will take the IELTS exam? Okay, in 2 months. Okay, and Maria and Alina, when are you taking your exam? Haven't booked yet. All right, okay. Okay, haven't taken. Okay, so don't know yet. All right, cool. So Maria, you sent me an email, didn't you, asking me about the PTE? Was that you? Or no? Maybe I'm getting confused. Yes, okay, that was you. All right, cool, yeah. All right, cool. So with the IELTS speaking test, there are 3 parts, okay, for the test. So part 1 is basically they will ask you questions, all right? And the questions are usually quite simple questions about daily lives, all right? So they tend to be quite simple. So the examiners usually have these 4 questions and they can move on to different topics, but also very, very simple. Part 2, you have 1 minute to plan, okay, what you're going to say, and then you have 2 minutes to talk, all right? And they give you that card, so that would be just what's in blue there, that box. They give it to you, and you have a look at it, and then you can plan and then talk for 1 to 2 minutes, okay? And part 3 can be also a little bit more difficult because the questions are quite long and a bit more abstract. Okay, so people tend to they tend to get a bit lost sometimes, but it's a good part to show your English and get a good score. Okay, do you have any questions about the parts, guys, or are you okay with it? Okay, Carlos said it's okay. Okay, all good, lovely. All right, cool. So let's move on to the first myth. Okay, so you should never ask the examiner to repeat the question. So did anybody tell you that you can't ask the examiner because it's a bad idea? Just say yes or no. Yes, okay. Okay. All right, it's a bad idea. So Carlos says a bad idea. Yes, all right, okay. So actually, it's not really a bad idea. All right, it's actually the opposite. So it is okay to ask the examiner. Okay, of course, I'll tell you how to do it. But yeah, it is not a big deal. And I have coworker. She's an examiner, and every time I have a question about the IELTS, I go straight to her and I ask her. And I actually double checked with her this week, and then she told me all the details and when you can ask, when you can't ask, and I will tell you today. All right. So, so we have part 1, 2, and 3, right? So in part 1, like I said before, you have those questions, right? And in part 1, things are quite simple, okay? But maybe sometimes the examiner said something, maybe you didn't understand, maybe the accent of the examiner was a bit of an issue. So what can you do? You can ask the examiner to repeat the question. So what would you say? Can you repeat the question, please? All right. So it is okay. There is no problem. There are no problems at all. Have you guys seen any exams on YouTube? Just say yes or no. All right, okay, so some of you know. Okay, so it's a good idea to have a look at it, okay, and just see how it works, all right? And maybe you get one in which they ask the examiner, hi, can you repeat, please? Which is okay in the end, all right? Maybe in daily life, sometimes people tell things like, oh, can you ask me the question again, please? Because you don't understand the person for many different reasons. Maybe we weren't listening very well, we weren't paying attention, or just because the person says something in a funny way, all right? That would be part 1. So part 1, 100%. What about part 2? Okay, so part 2 is a little bit tricky because in part 2, you are not really listening to the examiner. The examiner just tells you what to do and then you do it, all right? But sometimes, can you read the box or not? What's in the box? The box I made part 2, the box there. Can you read, yes or no? Yeah, so Carlos can read it. Okay, Taline's on the phone. So I'll go back a little bit then. Okay. Aline, can you read this one now? Is it bigger? Yeah, cool, right. So just have a quick look there. So you have to describe a house and apartment. Okay, describe a house or an apartment. So that's the task there, okay? And personally speaking, do you think that talking about a house or an apartment, and have a look at the vocabulary there, do you think the information there, is it easy or difficult to understand? Aline said easy. Easy. Oh yeah, Carlos, I can see that someone's always coming in and out. Okay, so yeah, Carlos, so we're just talking about the task 2 there, okay, and that's the task, describe an apartment. All right, cool. So if you have a look here, so let's go back to that then. So in this part here, as you could see, it is quite simple, okay? So if you see a word you don't know, you can actually ask for clarification. So in this case, there's no way you can ask someone to repeat something because the examiner is not going to say anything. The examiner is basically just going to tell you what you have to do. So the examiner will say, oh, now I'll give you a pen and paper and you can take notes for 1 minute and then you have to speak for up to 2 minutes. All right. So in that case there, you can ask for clarification if there is a word you don't know. But as you could see, it is quite simple. So usually you don't need the examiner to do anything for you. All right. But of course, if you see a word that you don't know, just to make sure you get it right, you can ask something like, so by, you can say the word, do you mean da da da? For example, one example there. Imagine you don't know, one of the texts that I can't read properly either. So what it looks like inside. So by what it looks like inside, do you mean how many rooms, the furniture, and they can say yes or no. Okay, so you're not asking the examiner, what is this? What do I have to do? Because you know, but you can ask for clarification, definitely. All right, and now part 3. So part 3 is the one that you can actually work with the examiner a little bit more. And if you compare, so I'll go back a little bit again just to show you. And actually, I can show you here. I think it's okay. All right. So yeah, in part 3, if you guys have a look at the difference in size of questions in part 1 and questions in part 3 is much, much longer. Okay. And it's also a little bit more difficult, more complicated. So again, you can ask the examiner to repeat the question for you if you don't understand, of course. And also, you can ask the examiner for maybe some word that you didn't understand. What do you mean by that? Okay, and they can help you a little bit. All right. And also, what does na mean if you heard a word you're not familiar with or you are not sure? Okay, while I was talking to the examiner this week, she actually told me that one of her students was quite a strong student. He was asked a question and he misunderstood one word. So he gave a beautiful answer about a topic that wasn't the topic. He actually said that when he heard the question, he wasn't really sure, but he went with it. And then he spent like 1 minute talking about the wrong topic. And then he got a bad score. So if you're not sure, you should ask the examiner. Sorry, can you repeat, please? Okay. Of course, if you say that for every question, that's a big problem. All right, big problem. But if you say that sometimes, and if you're honest about it, okay, I didn't understand, can you repeat, please? I think it's perfectly fine. And you might even get a better score because you know exactly what you say. All right. Okay. Good. Sorry. Sorry. Do you have any questions concerning this part, guys? No. Good. Okay. So was there anything new to you? So can you tell me maybe 1 or 2 things that were new to you here? So maybe what's the thing that you think will help you the most when you do your exam? Okay. That's okay, Alina? No, about the clarification. Yeah, so that's possible too, yeah. And from my research, a lot of people say don't ask anything in part 2. But then I spoke to the examiner and said, look, it's okay. I mean, they can ask me what do I have to do because you should know by the time you get there. But at the same time, if there are 1 or 2 things you don't quite understand, that's okay. But again, guys, if you ask them everything, that can be a problem, all right? Because that means that you're lost, okay? Okay, in part 1 and 3, it's possible to ask just to clarify. Yeah, okay, yeah, so part 1, my suggestion is basically to just say, can you repeat, please, because the questions are simple. Part 3, maybe just repeating the question might not be enough, so you can say, what do you mean exactly by that? And they can actually, the examiner can say the question with different words, okay? So that's also possible, all right? Okay, but again, just do it if you really have to, all right? Let's move on to the next one now. All right, cool. And then you should use set sentences in the speaking test, okay? So did you hear anyone saying that, oh, you should always use this word in the speaking test? Yes or no? Yes, Carlos said yes. Maria Teresa said yes. And then said yes, yeah, okay, yeah. So if you were here for the last class, you probably saw what I told you guys about the writing. So what is the problem with using set sentences in the writing part? Do you remember what I said? What, 1 month ago? What is the problem using set sentences? Let's see what you can remember. Yeah, Carlos. So yeah, so I would just kind of, you wrote a lot of things there, but that's basically the use, okay? So you use the right thing in the wrong place. That's it. Or the set sentence is perfect, but then you have what comes after is wrong, or your set sentence is perfect, but where you're using it is wrong. Okay, anybody else? Do you remember anything? I'll give you a few minutes. If you don't remember, it's okay. I'll remind you later. Okay. All right, okay, so that's it, chat. So basically, yeah, the fanboys can be, oh, like I said, fanboys are fine as long as you use them correctly. Okay, so again, you can apply that, but again, they are not set sentences. Fanboys are more like connectors, so you're gonna use them to connect, usually independent sentences. All right, so yeah, definitely compounded complexity, yes. But when I talk about set sentences, I mean group of words to introduce something else. But yeah, but you can use that, and then from there you can get compound sentences and complex sentences. Okay, and then you might make a mistake because probably what you use first is not the best. Yeah, could be idioms, true. Yeah, could be idioms, true. I agree. Okay, so like I said before, so one problem is the grammar. So maybe you have the perfect set sentence, a great way to start speaking, and then you make a mistake because whatever you said first was incorrect. Okay, good sentence around context. So maybe you can say something like, I would like to talk about, and then, but you say that in the wrong place. Okay, so for example, part 2 is a great way to start that. But if a person says, what's your favorite color? You say, oh, I'd like to talk about red. I'm like, I'd like to talk about red? No, red's my favorite color. So if you have that in your mind, I'd like to talk about, but if you use in the wrong place, that can be a problem. And sometimes you're missing something. So for example, again, I would like to talk about. You say, I like talk about. Okay. All right, so that can also be an issue. Okay, so what comes after set sentence, where you use it, and the set sentence itself, because I have helped some students and they had the sentence in your mind, okay, but because they use it so many times, they forget one word and they keep saying it in the wrong way. All right, so my advice is the same. So with set sentences, I think it's the same for speaking and writing, the exact same thing. Okay, so my advice is you should know the grammar. So whatever you want to use in your speaking or your writing, you should know exactly what it is and exactly how to use it. Okay, all right, and a set sentence, the context, concerning the context, you should know what to say and when to say it. All right, and also you should know exactly the words that you have and how many you have of them, because because if you are missing something, it is a mistake, and that's the kind of thing that you should know. Like my example again, I would like to say, I like to say, so I'd like to talk about, then you say, I'd like to talk about. That's like a big mistake right there, and you should know that sentence 100%. All right. Any questions here? Okay, thank you, Alina. Thank you, Maria Teresa. All right, good. Okie dokie. So I think that was it, huh? Yeah. So yeah, so for the myths, that was it. It was very quick today. Oh my God. 35 minutes already. Okay. So yeah, so today we talked about you should never ask the examiner to repeat the question. So can you tell me what was the most important thing that you got from that explanation, guys? Something that next time you do the speaking, you will remember, or maybe one key word, the most important thing from that myth there. I agree with you, Aline. So the asking for clarification. Yeah, and again, you're not asking the question, right? You're not asking them to help you, just asking them to clarify, because there's many different reasons for why you wouldn't be able to understand something. Okay, anything else, guys? Just maybe one thing that you will remember next time you do your exam. It's really helpful concerning that topic. Yeah. So you can ask, and again, clarifications, you can ask for, yeah. So it's not really helping. They're not really helping you, right? I think you can see the difference between help and clarify. Okay, if they help you, maybe they help you with the answer. But if they clarify, they help you with the question itself. Yeah, or to be sure about the meaning. Yeah, I agree with you, Carlos. Yeah, that's one of the most important things, true. All right. Cool. All right, okay. So yeah, so just a recap. Okay, so talked about part 1, part 2, and part 3, right? So part 2, you can say, can you please repeat the question? All right, part 2, you can ask for clarification or maybe 1 or 2 words you're not sure about. Okay, and then can you please repeat the question? What do you mean by that? Okay, so these are the things that I think will be the most important for you guys that you should remember. All right, cool. And then this one here, you should use that sentence as a speaking test. So what is maybe 1 or 2 things that you think were very important that you will want to remember in the future? Grammar. I agree, Carlos. Because sometimes people have these beautiful set sentences and there's a mistake right after them. Then you get your score, that will bring your score down, either in the speaking or the writing, definitely. Yeah. That is a word, definitely, yeah. So you probably got my gift from the last virtual class, right? Yeah, so I think that's quite helpful. And if you keep that in mind, I just gave you a few examples in the gift, but if you keep that in mind all the time, then it's perfect. You said sentence correctly, yes. But again, Maria Teresa, use the set sentence correctly. You have to think about 3 things, right? Yeah, you have to think about 3 things. So Maria, every time you learn a set sentence, think about it. What's the grammar? When can I use it? And do I have all the words I need? Okay, so I mean, there's more things too, of course, but I think that these 3 things are the most important things and they will help you use it correctly. Definitely, 100%. Okay. Any more questions here, guys? Anything you'd like to add? Okay, thank you, Maria Teresa. Yes, so American English is fine. Yeah, I think that they believe in consistency. So as long as you are using the same type, I think you're fine. So for example, if you start your exam saying words, that goes for writing too, okay? So if you start the exam using American words, you should finish using American words, okay? And Australian expressions, that's fine, okay? Especially in part 1, let's say, or part 2. For example, in that case there with so in the example here, I'll go back a little bit, guys. Actually, I'll go back a lot. Sorry. Yeah, just part 2. Sorry, I'll go back a little bit more. Perfect, here. So part 2, okay? In this case, you have to describe a house. So in one of them there, you have to say what the house looks like. Maybe you can say they have a great entertaining area, okay? And you can have a Barbie in there. A good place to have a Barbie. That's very, very Australian. And if you say that, maybe the examiner will find it's funny, okay? Because like it's Australian. Okay, so I think it's fine as long as you don't overdo. Maybe if you just want your speaking to be Australian, that's bad, because again, Australian English tends to be, yeah, I wouldn't say mate either, right? So again, so I think that it really depends, okay, what you're saying, what you're trying to say, and don't overdo anything. That's my main advice. Don't overdo it. Okay, don't overdo it. Other than that, I think you'll be fine. Okay, like for example, hips. Hips is very, very Australian, and I personally use it all the time. And I think it's fine to use it in the speaking test too, especially parts 1 and 2. 3 maybe not, and also 3 because a little bit more academic. maybe you don't need to. All right, but parts 1 and 2, I think you're fine. Okay, but again, if you're using American or British English, just stick to whatever you start the speaking test with. Same thing with the writing. Writing, especially spelling. Okay, so especially the spelling with the writing, definitely. Okay, if you have British spelling, stick to British. American spelling, stick to American, because they want consistency. Okay, any other questions, guys, concerning these topics here? Okay, no thanks. Good, thank you, Lynn. All right, okay, usually part 3 is more formal or academic. I think it depends. I think formal and academic, they kind of go together. Okay, so there will be more academic topics. All right, there'll be more academic topics. And then consequently, maybe you should use a formal language. I think that it asks for it. Okay, so just go back a little bit there. All right, go back just a little bit. 1 second. All right, just so you can read here. Can you read, type the third part there, guys? So yeah, so I can read it. So yeah, so do you think that everyone would like to live in a larger home? Why is that? So again, it's a little bit more abstract. Okay, so you have to give your opinion. And again, it's not something that you can talk about straight away. You have to think about it. So I would say that it requires more of your thought, let's say. Yeah, different from parts 1 and maybe 2 also. Yeah, but I think that in this case, formal and academic, they kind of go together. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense. So do you think there are advantages of living in a house rather than an apartment? Okay, so it requires more, and I think you should be aiming at using other type of words there. Because if you compare, do you watch cookery programs? Or do you think everyone would like to live in a big house? So just the context of the questions are very different. Okay, does that make sense? So I wouldn't say it's formal or academic, like a combination, and more abstract and requires more thought. Okay. Does it make sense, Carlos? Yeah, Lynn says totally okay. Yeah. What do you mean by positive way? So let's deal with Carlos' question first. So Carlos, you hear someone say that you have to answer in a positive way. What do you mean by positive way, Carlos? Marcel, so yeah, in a different pace. Yeah, a bit slower. I wouldn't say slower, but it is okay to give yourself more time to think. That's fine. Carlos, I think it's more of an introduction. When you say, yes, I agree with that. However, blah, 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 blah. So you could say that. So yeah. So when you say that, Carlos, not really being positive. You're just saying that, do you think that everyone like to live in a larger home? Why is that? Oh, yes. I believe that there are some people who'd like to live in a bigger house due to the fact that there's more space, they can have more people over. However, for me, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like a lot of housework, and I don't have that much money to pay for people to clean my house. So yeah, so for me, I disagree. I think it's better to live in a smaller house, but I think that some people would love to live in a big house. So you can say that. Okay, but again, I wouldn't say it's answering in a positive way, Carlos, but it's more like answering the question. All right. Okay. And then I think Maria asked the question. Maria, can we answer depends for the question? Yes, Maria, what do you mean by that? Can we answer depends for the question and explain? Can you rephrase that question, please? Yeah, it depends for the question. Or do you mean, Maria, depends on the person? All right, okay, yeah. So yeah, so actually, I say, it depends on the person, and you can talk about the people who like a big house and then the people who like a small house. okay? Or you can say, yes, there is this, okay? So people agree with that, and then people disagree. And one thing that I would like to get your attention to, guys, is the last part that said, why is that? So the question is, do you think that everyone would like to live in a larger home? Why is that? You have to explain, you have to support, you have to give examples. Okay, so that's the best. Okay, any other questions? I have a small group today, but I think I have more questions than last group. Okay, cool. All right, so we have like 20 minutes left. That's great. So you can go off and enjoy your weekend. Okay. So yeah, so we're gonna talk about part 2 now. So if you have seen my emails, if you're following me on Instagram, you could see that I ask people to let me know which part they wanted to focus on. I know that part 1 is quite simple, all right? And then there's part 2 and 3, and I know that's the part that people struggle with. And most people decided on part 2, all right? So I'll try my best to help you as much as I can today. But what I want for you to feel today is not like this anymore, but by the end of this lesson, I want you to feel like this concerning speaking part 2. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. All right, so today, as we don't have that much time, I'll help you a little bit on how to plan for part 2 and how to talk for the full 2 minutes. Okay, so like I said before, this week I spent some time talking to an examiner just to make sure that I got the right information for you guys. And she did mention that it is much better when she stops the examiner. Okay, not the examiner stops and says, okay, I'm done. All right, it's better if she says, oh, thank you, you've talked for 2 minutes. All right, so I'm going to help you with that a little bit because I feel that some people, they don't have enough to talk about. Okay, cool. So just for me to have an idea there, most of you, do you have issues on how to plan or how to talk for a long time? What is the main problem that you guys have usually? How to talk for 2 minutes, okay. I'll give you some tips, Maria. How to plan. Okay, so Aline is how to plan. Okay, planning can be a bit of a problem. Latin American people like us, difficult how to talk for only 2 minutes. Yes, so yes, Carlos, I will tell you one thing. Yeah, because we talk a lot. Yeah, the thing is quality, not quantity. Okay, so my advice would be to make sure you actually focus on each topic and just say enough. Okay, don't talk too much. All right, basically just answer the question. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But the problem with talking a lot is that maybe you don't cover the full topic. Okay, so maybe you talk about the first bullet point, second bullet point, blah, 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 2 minutes, done, finished. And you're missing the other parts, and that can be a problem, okay? But I'll give you a few tips. So by the end of this lesson, if you still have a few questions concerning that, just ask me, all right? Okay, cool. So this is the example I'm going to use, okay? We've been using it the whole class, right? So the instructions are, you have to talk about the topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, you have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You know that, right? 1 minute to plan. And you can make some notes if you wish. Yes, you wish to make some notes, because if you don't, like, it's really hard to just do that without having notes. All right, okay. And the task is, okay, so the task is, the task is describe a house or apartment that someone you know lives in. So it's not your house, it's someone else's house. Maybe you can describe your own house, but just say it's your friend's house, not your house, okay? And then you should say whose it is, where it is, what it looks like, and explain what you like or dislike Okay, so maybe here they're asking you, oh, I love it because blah, blah, blah. Okay, oh, I love da, 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 and I hate da, 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 da. Okay, we can talk both, sure, maybe. But in this case, I think they expect you to talk about only one. All right, okay, cool. Then, my main advice here is to think of the topics as a question and write keywords. Okay, so you don't have that much time. Sorry, wrong. But okay, so you don't have that much time to write sentences. And the problem with writing sentences is that maybe you're gonna read them. Okay, so keywords, just keywords, nothing else. Okay. And when I say think of the topics there, by topics, I mean the bullet points there, what you have to cover, okay? As a question, because when you look at them, so you're taking your notes and you read, you say, whose house this is? And then one of the answers could be, my friend, my uncle, my aunt. Next one, where is it? And you can say, my hometown. Good neighborhood, near my house. So look at it, think of it as a question and answer, question and answer. Okay? Of course, in your mind, when you are preparing. Okay, so I think that's the best thing, because a lot of people, they get lost. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna write? If you think of it as a question and the fact that you're answering them, I think it's the best thing to do. Okay, so that's the main thing there. Okay, and they give you the piece of paper there, right? So they give you the thing in the piece of paper. You can't write on it, but you can write next to it. Okay, so just maybe whose, da da da, da 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 da, just one under the other. And then if you can, just add things next to it, just so you keep everything organized. Okay, and that's why it's so good to practice before, just so you know what to do and what's your favorite way of doing it. Okay, so yeah, me, for example, when I'm doing the practice with my students, I usually write like dots for each point. And each time the student talks about a point, I tick and I tick and I tick. All right, so that's my organization to check what the students are saying. Okay, so you should have your own organization of notes just to make sure you perform well. All right, okay. And then another thing is, so yeah, sorry, go back a little bit. Any questions here concerning the planning, guys? No questions. Okay, good. Cool. Thank you, Carlos. All right, cool. So, so now, with talking for a long time, my advice would be to give extra details and give examples. Okay, so Carlos said that he talks too much, and then I think Maria Teresa said that she has problems talking a lot. Okay, if you have problems talking a lot, give extra details. Okay, like for example, you could say something, it's quite a big house with an entertaining area. Okay, or it's quite a big house with 4 bedrooms. Okay, so whatever you say, try to give extra details, whatever you're trying to say. Okay, so if you just give extra details, I think it's the best thing to do. That will help you. And again, when you give extra details, you're supporting whatever you are saying. All right, okay. And then by giving examples, okay, by giving examples, for example, you can say, it's a quite entertaining area. For example, it is so big that you can have a party and invite 50 people. All right, so that's an example. Oh, it's quite big, yeah. It has a great entertaining area, yeah. Oh God, so big. Like for example, you can even invite 50 people and have a big party and everyone would be comfortable. Okay, so again, when you say that, the examiner can kind of imagine what your friend's house is like, your aunt's house or your house, I don't know. Okay, so that's a good way of doing this. Okay, so that's a way of extending. And then, like Carlos said, he talks too much. So maybe Carlos will say that there's a barbecue area and it's very big, and you can have 50 people, and then maybe Carlos will tell a story about the big party they had there. Is that right, Carlos? They don't want to know the story. They just want to know about the house. Maybe that's when you make the mistake of talking too much. Okay, yeah. So again, so that's a big house. Or you can, maybe if you say what's in that area, yes. But when you go and talk about the party or the people who go to the party, then you can't. And again, it's about quality, not quantity, and also sticking to the topic. So if you feel that you are talking a little bit too much, a good way is just look at your notes or the card that the examiner gave you. Okay, so you go there, look at it, and then you go, oh my God, next topic. And the next thing is, and then you move on to the next one if you feel like you've talked a lot. Okay, but again, practicing is the best thing you can do. All right, so you can and like when you practice a lot, you kind of know what 2 minutes is, and you know, okay, the more you practice, you know, you will know. All right, and don't rush to the topics, of course, don't, because then you're missing, you know, actually showing your English. Okay, maybe saying a few things, like for example, if you think about whose apartment it is, it's a very simple answer. And if you think about where it is, it's also simple. But then what it looks like and what you like and you don't like, that's when you expand. Okay, so maybe one thing you can do is actually to go on and say, oh, my house, it belongs to my sister. It's my sister's house, okay, and it's in a city half an hour from my hometown in Brazil, okay, and the house is actually quite big, blah 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 blah. But the thing I like the most is that da 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 da. Not 2 minutes yet. For example, da 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 da, and then the examiner will stop you. Okay. So Carlos, for you, you said you talk a lot, right? So maybe just make sure you cover maybe 2 topics at least at first. Move on to the next one, and kind of keep in mind that you have to cover another one. Okay. Or you can go back. Like Teresa's case, right? She doesn't talk a lot. So if you feel like you finished, Teresa, oh, another thing I'd like to add about the house is that you can go back as long as you introduce it in a nice way. All right. Okay. Any questions, guys? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So today, okay, we covered you should never ask the examiner to repeat the questions. We covered you should use set sentences in the speaking test, and we covered speaking part 2. Okay. Do you have any questions? Any final questions? Okay, no questions for Teresa, Maria Teresa. Cool, Alina, you're welcome. All right. No, it's okay, good. All right, okay. All right, so well done, guys. So you're closer to your desired score now, okay? So that's the thing. The main thing with these virtual classes is to give you lots of tips so you can apply when you are taking the exam or just practicing. Actually, you can apply when you're practicing for the exams, and then when you do the exam, you're like 100%. All right, okay? So yeah, so how you feeling? Because with speaking, how are you feeling? Feeling good? Alina's feeling good. A bit more confident, maybe? Maybe. You're excited, Carlos. Good for you. Yeah. Today's Saturday. Yeah, maybe you have some time to practice. Okay. So yeah, maybe have some time to practice. Maybe it's a good idea to maybe watch a video. Okay, and then maybe get one. One thing you can do is to record yourself. Okay, so you can record yourself and then you can listen to yourself. And one thing also is that when you record yourself and then listen to it, you can check whether you're doing everything that you should be. All right, okay. So would you like another virtual class? Yes, some people asked for it, so I decided to do another one. So if you want to know when, check your email, okay? I know that some of the emails I send go to junk mail, so keep an eye on that, okay? Or you can go to Instagram also, okay? And YouTube, there are some videos there, especially when it comes to writing. There's heaps there that can help you, okay? You can send me an email if you have any questions, or you can book a private class, okay? So if you're not in Brisbane, okay, you can book a private class via Skype, okay? But since some of you are in Brazil, some of you are here in Australia, okay, yeah, so you can always book a class. That's fine too. Thank you very much, guys. Do you have any questions? Oh, by the way, I don't know if you just ask you. Not this one. I think this one is quite helpful here. Yeah. So if you want to take a picture, if you're on your phone, it's much easier from the computer. Just take a picture of this one because I think this one is quite helpful. Okay, guys. That can be quite helpful for you in the future. Yeah. And of course, with the clarification, everything, if you are practicing the IELTS with a tutor, a teacher, I don't know, if you are practicing, just double check that, okay, and see how people feel, because I got mixed opinions, okay? So like I said, I did some research online. Some people said, no, never ask for questions. Other people say, yes, ask for questions. So ask the examiner to repeat. So I really trust the examiner I talk to. Okay, she's an examiner here in Brisbane. And every time I have a question, I just talk to her, and she seems to be giving me the best advice. Okay, but of course, just double check. Oh, so yeah, I know this, I know that, and see how people feel about it. Okay, because if you go online, there's so much information, and then sometimes some information are not the same, okay? It's not the same, okay? All good. Any final questions? If not, you can go enjoy your Saturday or your Friday night if you're in Brazil. Any final questions? Oops. Bye, Line. Okay. Okay, no questions. Thank you for coming, Maria. Not coming, attending. Okay, anybody else? Any questions? No, Carlos, all good. All right. All right, cool. You're very welcome, Carlos. Always a pleasure. All right, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go, okay? I'm gonna also enjoy my Saturday and get your gift ready, okay? Not a replay, okay? But if you're really interested, maybe you can have another one, okay? So just send me an email when you can, all right? And then we can talk about it, maybe. Just send me a private message, okay? But a replay of this specific one, I'm not sure. Maybe in the future. I'm thinking about doing another one, which will be on the reading and listening, okay, guys? But I'll keep you posted. Because then, when we do the listening and reading, we will have covered the whole thing, all right? Because there's 10 minutes in the ebook, all right? But not a replay, but probably another one, okay? But if you want any extra information concerning this virtual class, just send me an email, okay? Or on Instagram too, okay? Any other questions, guys? Okay, thank you, Carlos. You too. Okay, so Carlos, Maria. Okay, bye-bye, Carlos. Okay, Maria, Line, all of you. Okay, have a great weekend. Okay, and like I said, guys, you get my email. You have me on Instagram. Okay, so if you have any extra questions, just send me a message, and I'm happy to reply. Okay, but there will be another one concerning listening and reading. Just don't know when, but I'll let you know. Okie dokie. All right. Okay, so I guess I'll see you soon, okay?